here, Toucher and Rich. Mike Reiss is the NFL Nation reporter covering the Patriots, and he's brought to you by DN Van Lines. Moving your home or business and need a recommendation from someone? How about the recommendation from almost all the staff here at the Sports Hub and the Sports Hub itself? Yes, they moved the station too. They moved me. Online at dnvanlines.com. Mike joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Mr. Reiss, hello.
Good morning, Fred. Good morning, Rich. Good morning, John. We got the crew together. How we doing?
Are you at the airport?
Yeah, how's the Fort Lauderdale International Airport that you're hanging out in right now?
I know. You're going to hear some great announcements here in the E-Terminal in Fort Lauderdale Airport.
Look at you, getting all the way to E, baby. That's I imagine there's some legwork in there.
That's a better airport than going to the Miami airport, correct?
Amen.
Is it
That's
not?
absolutely right.
Well, the Miami airport is a disaster. I don't know how when your number one industry for a long time was tourism, that you can just go like, you know what, the 60s were a fun time. Let's not change anything.
Getting rental cars in Miami is a joy, too. That's a lot of fun.
It's a very rare occasion I will get a rental car. I do not. I would like to be chauffeured around. I do not like that. All right, so, Mike, here we are. If you're the Patriots, what's your attitude through coming up to the trade deadline on Tuesday? What are you thinking? If you're Bill Belichick, if you're in charge of everything, what is your attitude now, and who's available?
Sure. Fred, I think you listen to everything. I think you listen to everything and see if there's an offer that comes your way that's worth considering. But I think that if we look at the history of the trade deadline, those offers are generally pretty few and far in between. So it's something we talk about a lot, and it's a good talking point, and it's interesting. But I think when we look at the reality of what usually happens, it's usually not that much. So I would be surprised if there's anything that's really big that comes out of it. But I think you do listen when you're 2-6, at this point in the season.
Do you listen if someone calls about Mac Jones?
Absolutely. I think you listen to everything. Why wouldn't you?
So what do you think it would take for them to – because I know that right now the talk is about the Vikings and Kirk Cousins being out, and that seems to be a hot talking point right now is whether or not they will give the Patriots a call. What do you think they would offer other than that super cool flute song in the background?
Is there a guy playing the flute, or have they decided that that's the music they should play?
Give that guy $1 and move on.
I don't think they would offer enough for the Patriots to move off. And when I say that, I mean, I think it has to be basically the pick that you pick Mac with, the first-round pick, maybe a second-round pick. Yeah. But I don't think – and that's my whole thing on the trade deadline, guys. Like, if you're the Patriots, you're not just going to give players away for the sake of giving them away. Like, you got to get something significant in return, because even though this season isn't going the way that they wanted, anyone thought it would go, like, you still got to build for the future. So, like, why would you give away good players for limited return?
Well, so the question is now, because it looks like the players that have the most value right now would be Uche, Onwenu, Kyle Duggar. But, we were wondering, why wouldn't the Patriots just sign these guys? But that horse is out of the barn, right? Because they are all set to be free agents. And why would you sign with the Patriots if you could go to free agency? Am I correct in that they're all going to be free agents next year?
The closer you get to free agency, the more likely that, of course, that there will be free agents. There's always a chance. There's examples, Rich, where like players go to the end of their contract and do sign an extension with a team. But usually they like to test the open market because that's where you can make the most money, right? When you get a competitive situation with multiple teams bidding on you. I think the one thing I would caution against is just because Kyle Duggar or Mike Onwenu or Josh Uche go to free agency, that doesn't necessarily mean they're gone. We've seen examples where that's happened. Devin McCourty, one off the top of my head that comes to mind. So I think those are the dynamics in play. And usually if they're going to sign an extension now, it's going to be maybe at a lower rate, just because then the team is assuming the risk of health, right? That they're paying for a player that's going to be healthy, whereas that's why a player likes to wait. They've made it through half the season without injury, and now they're half a season away from being on the open market.
Mike, it's.
Wait, I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
I mean,
sir. Go right ahead.
And I had it up for
Didn't
a long time.
see your hand up over there.
It's piggybacking.
Go right
something
ahead.
You just said. I mean, how dare you, John? I mean, there's an order here.
Yes.
All right. Well, Mike, in regards to Uche, there is a belief, because anytime you read nationally about who's available, the belief is Uche would be more valuable to another team in that his Dork win rate is second in the NFL, but he doesn't play. He play more for another team, basically. Do you think that in that sense, Uche is an ideal trade candidate because you might get more for him than he's worth for you?
So it's possible. Like if a team is looking for a pass rusher, there's two things. Like he was playing about 38% of the time before the last two games when he was injured. So that's a sub-package, limited role. And if a team that plays a different system that might put him on the field more, like is willing to give you a significant trade chip. And when I say significant, I think it would have to be like a third-round pick.
Sure, right.
I mean, because otherwise, if you're the Patriots, there might be more. Like, what does a fourth-round pick really do for you?
It does. But what my point is, Mike, is the third-round pick more valuable to you as the Patriots because of the idea that you only use them 38% of the time?
Yes,
okay.
I think so. I think that's a good point. I will say this, and I don't know how significant his injury is. I mean, I did see that he was a game-time decision against the Raiders 3 weeks ago, and he hasn't played the last 2 weeks. I mean, we should probably mention, like, you can't really trade an injured player.
Right.
And so that's another factor in the discussion.
You don't think that maybe they were the organization, you've been around them forever. You don't think that maybe they would have erred on the side of caution with Uche specifically because of the idea that they might trade him?
It's possible. I would say just based on what I've seen at practice, like it looks to me like that was more like legitimate injury based than maybe that. But that's just one person's view.
You see, John, what I just did? That was a 3-question conversation.
No,
with
actually,
Mike
I was actually going to lead him in that direction.
Well,
so very good.
I'm not. I mean, I can't read your mind.
You're a pro. No, you did it really well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I got 3 questions out of it. Go ahead, John.
No, since you took my question, I'll go in another direction. Locker rooms are a strange place for teams like this, but it seemed like all the positivity was gone after the win yesterday, and everyone finally understands where this team is and what the future is.
I think that's fair, John. I think part of it wasn't just the loss. It was like 3 significant injuries. Losing Jawan Bentley, your signal caller, with the hamstring early, and then Devontae Parker with the head injury, and then probably the biggest one, Kendrick Bourne, just because of what he brings. With the knee injury, we'll see what that brings with more tests for him today. So I think combination of the loss, feeling like the game not necessarily was there for them, but like this wasn't a case in their view where they just got beaten. Like they had opportunities and didn't cash in. So I think all those things combined, John, sort of contributed to the vibe and that in the locker room after the game.
Well, Mike, while you're listening to the jazz flavors in the background, maybe you can contemplate, because you're a statistics guy, and there was a interesting stat from yesterday that I don't know if you've noticed this pattern throughout either this season or his career, but so Mac Jones yesterday was 15 of 21 for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns when targeting the middle and the right part of the field. When he was targeting the left part of the field, he was 4 for 7 for 5 yards and an interception. And that seems to be a theme, and we were trying to figure out which game it was. I believe it was the Saints game where he had that awful throw to the left as well that was intercepted. Is that something that you've noticed through his career here, that he just isn't as strong of a thrower when it comes to throwing to his left?
That's actually really interesting. I can't say that I've noticed it, but I do like that stuff, and I know the coaches and the players look at that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. On that throw, I don't know if you heard him. He said he actually saw Jalen Ramsey, and he was just late with the throw and needed to drive the ball more.
Yeah.
To me, just got to throw the ball away. Like that to me was a killer mistake. And if I have it right, they're 2-0 in games when he doesn't throw an interception, and they're 0-6 in games when he does. And to me, that's telling for the one thing that he just hasn't been able to figure out, how to avoid the costly mistakes.
Well, I don't think it's any mystery why he can't throw left. It's his. I mean, you watch these games, Mike. I mean, physically, he's not in the same league as some of these other quarterbacks, or I'd say the majority of the other quarterbacks. Would you not agree?
So physically, like in terms of the tools, I think I would put him mid to lower tier in that area. But I am of the belief that Tua is a great comparison, and I think that's why this game sort of probably hurts for, let's say, Robert Kraft and the ownership to watch, because there were a lot of questions about Tua.
Yeah.
At this time, and look what they did to build around him. He looks a lot better, and so I think in a way, like, I'm not willing to say like Mac is not, you can't win with him, but I think he also is responsible for. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like
it totally makes sense. But so this will lead to a question that we were talking about earlier. That if Mac Jones, in your opinion, if Mac Jones is on the Dolphins, are the Dolphins is he successful?
I think they're close to what they are. I think they're close to what they are. I do. I don't think it's that far off.
So you think that Mac Jones and Tua, because you're not the only one, are comparable in talent?
I do, and I'd put like Brock Purdy in that discussion with the 49ers. Yes, I do. And now look, that's hard to sort of sell right now when you watch some of the things we're watching, but I do think you have to acknowledge some of the factors around Mac.
He's skill position wise, it's a different stratosphere.
Well, then I want a first rounder for Mac Jones. Then,
top 15
If
pick.
that's the case, you give me a first rounder.
Yeah, and so you think that Mac Jones makes teardrops that pass to Hill yesterday, that touchdown pass?
I saw him do it in college, right? And so I do, Fred. I mean, I'd like to see it at least, before I make the final call on Mac, is sort of what I'm getting at.
Okay, because I would argue that a better argument would be like, Waddle and Hill, like when Waddle laid out for a ball and Hill did the same. I mean, those were but I mean, all Hill did was be fast on the touchdown. And so I like those. You can see where Tua gets the benefit of Waddle and Hill. Like, and then after the catch, I mean, those guys, even in traffic, they don't give up. They go. But I just wonder if he could take advantage of someone's speed. I do have one question on the 3rd and 4, and this is the only time you'll probably be asked this. But on the 3rd and 4 early in the game, Mac checks down to Stevenson. And Stevenson doesn't get the first down. It seemed like he went down. Do you put that on Stevenson? Like, did you look at that and go, like, what the hell are you doing? Or am I the only one?
No, you're not the only one. I was sitting next to Chad Graff of The Athletic, and we both said that. I turned to him. I said, Chief, did you think Ramondre had something there? And he said, absolutely. Because sometimes when you're watching it live, it's hard to tell. I'm going to pull up the play as we're talking here on my computer.
I reviewed it. I watched it on my TV again. I actually rewound it and thinking, you're huge.
No, you're not the only one. I thought the exact same thing.
And I think that was a major play in that game.
It was. Because possession-wise, I mean, they were out-possessed in the game. I mean, they only had the ball for 24 minutes, and that's a 3rd down play, and they were struggling. I'm watching it right now as we talk. So I think that stuff, I think they obviously didn't get help from the officials, but that's far from the reason they lost the game. So let's be clear on that. But no, I'm with you on that. I'm watching it now, and I agree. I think, and that's probably reflective of Ramondre's season. I think it's been a little bit below what we thought, his season would be.
Why don't they have a 3rd down back? Like, why don't they have a good 3rd down back?
It was supposed to be Ty Montgomery a couple of years ago.
No, honestly, why don't they have one?
Jesus.
They should have one. I think that goes back to last year when they went to the different offense, and then they're transitioning back to the old offense under Josh McDaniels, and I think it just got a little bit lost in the transition.
How do you lose a position? This is weird.
You've already lost a fullback. Yeah.
And it's like they have 2 hulking, like, big backs. Like, it's not like, there's these shifty it's not like Miami's backfield where you can just, put whoever you want in the 3rd down. Yeah, they don't.
I just think of the Patriots' offenses in the past and how
Kevin
important.
Falk
James White.
even
Kevin
like
Falk.
Shane
Vereen and Danny Woodhead. You can go to all those guys. And
Well, the
just
Woodhead,
just
yeah.
how important that they were at their position. It is just odd that they don't even address that.
Mike, is there a Harlan Hart Trophy winner that could come in and take that?
Harlan
There
Hill.
you go.
Harlan Hill,
There you
I
go.
apologize. All right, Mike,
no.
enjoy. Listen, you got to go because you're at the airport. They make you take these very early flights. They're very cheap at ESPN.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and enjoy that awful music in the background.
Really? You don't like it? I thought you would like it. I thought it was sort of adds to the vibe, you know?
I'm questioning why. like why they're just silence wouldn't be a better option. But no, who am I?
It's the please don't be angry and scream at our flight attendants.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you how many times have you had anxiety and turned to the flute, the sweet sounds of the flute to cure it?
I find it so relaxing here. I think I'm just going to stretch out here in the E terminal and relax.
Listen, maybe when you get home, on the way home, pick up a flute of your own and pick up a new hobby. All right, Mike Reiss, you know him, of course, from ESPN. We always appreciate the time, sir. Safe travels.
Thanks, guys. Look forward to it next week.
All right, there you go.